Tom. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Then let's call for the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is discussion and recommendation for appointing members to a focus group for our parks, trails, recreation master plan. This is a new group that the city is starting, and we would like volunteers from all over the city and the county to be involved in this. So Drew, please explain.
Good evening, council. So this focus group is for the Parks and Trails Master Plan. So it's a group of individuals, almost all of them that have been contacted and said, yes, they will volunteer for this group. It's for the short duration of just during the process of our Parks and Trails Master Plan. So what this focus group will help us do is really make sure that when we do have our public meetings, that we're really, double checking and fact checking and kind of getting our word out there. Because obviously, you and I can talk to maybe 10 people, and then if we have, 12 to 15 people out there that can talk to 10, and they can talk to 10, and the multiplier just keeps happening. And so we can get the word out there that the master plan is going on, and we can get as much information back from either surveys or emails or phone calls and what they'd like to, what our public and residents would like to see, or updates to our parks and or, new parks and trails. The master plan will help us.
I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint members to the focus group.
So moved.
Okay, discussion, and I do have some questions. Have we reached out? There is a list of people that we already talked to, but if there's someone else who wanted to join, are we still going to be open to
Oh, yes.
members? And have we reached out to the county to get someone, well, on our 2 commissioners courts that we have in town law, 3 and 4, to see if there is a way that tying in the Greenway project?
Yes, so they, in the discussions that I've had so far with the county, that they would be welcome to the focus group meetings, but we're having internal discussions that we're trying to set up with them to make sure that their trails plan matches with our trails plan, whether it's precinct 3 or precinct 4. The last thing we want to do is for them to plan something here and us be here and not be in the middle, because at the end of the day, if you're a trail user, you don't really care who maintains the trail. You want it to be fluid. You want to be able to move from point A to point B. So we are setting up those meetings right now. All the types of plans that we're doing right now to make sure that we're in cohesion with both the precincts.
Okay, because the Greenway project is an integral part of our trails, and it was almost done. It's
Yes.
almost done. Also, tree ordinances is part of this will come out of this, maybe having some legacy tree or tree ordinances. I know we have a lot of development on some land that has big, huge, gorgeous trees on it. And that is over there off of Hustler. So is that the information from this, can that be used to help develop the tree ordinance that we had started earlier or late last year?
Well, the details of what the committees are going to be tackling, we still don't have that yet. It's going to be part of the process, but I don't see why we cannot use this group, whether it's for the master plan or for the development ordinance to provide input.
They want green compound, green walking trail. green compound. Okay. Any discussion, any questions?
Is any of the sidewalk plans or sidewalk trails, so to speak, going to be incorporated into this?
Yes, sir. Yes, the sidewalks, side paths, trails, whatever you want to call them, is incorporated in this. We have sat down already with our master planning consultants, with our landscape architects, and we've looked at really where all our connections are. We're looking at what the county connections are, and we make sure that whatever sidewalks that we don't have at the moment that aren't connecting, that goes into plan for future capital projects to make sure that those, whether it's a
county project or a city project or a state project, all of those should be encompassed in a master plan, and it'll be identified, you know, who's responsible for funding.
Is that, I see people using sidewalks all the time, especially up and down Medical Complex in that area. And, if we could have a discussion in amongst this plan that would take on, what else can we do to enhance these trails and sidewalks, whether it's benches, whether it's a stretching station, whether it's a water fountain, something like that. I think just as we develop this and if it's connected, as our city grows, I can't see how this wouldn't be a very popular.
I really think it will be too, and that will be taken into account, because there's lots of industry standards that tell you how often a water fountain needs to be, and how often a bench needs to be placed, and so that'll be all.
How about refuge containers, since we're talking about
Yeah,
this young
that's in
lady
there
back
too.
here bringing up a terrific.
Trash receptacles are in there also.
Any other discussion? Well, let's call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next item on the agenda is consideration and possible action to approve as a project of TEDC an agreement with Della Casa Pasta. Kelly?
I'm sorry, this is picking up. If it's ticking, I apologize. This is my remnants of my neck surgery, so if you're ticking, I am so sorry. Kelly Violet, Executive Director of Tomball County Development Corporation. I am so excited to finally be back in my normal role here at the EDC and bring you some projects. So you will see on the agenda, we obviously have not slowed down over December and January. And I'm excited to bring you several projects that really kind of run the gamut of what we can do as an economic development organization. So the first project is a project, this is a primary job project. So this is the expansion of Della Casa Pasta, and they are currently in a lease space on Hicks. They are located within about 2,400 square feet currently. They came to us several years ago and said, we're looking at expanding, we are out of room, we're working with the landlord, who was Mr. Jeff Stallone's, to possibly move into existing adjacent space. And during that process, when we were looking at doing a rental incentive for this project, the property ended up coming on the market. And so the owner, Lisa Obando of Della Casa Pasta, was able to move through the process to acquire the entire building. She will operate out of 4,327 square feet. The remaining lease space will stay leased to the existing company that's there. It is an automotive repair facility. What Della Casa Pasta does, they've been in business in Tomball since 2011, and they manufacture fresh pasta for both wholesale, so it goes to over 100 retailers within the state, as well as some of the existing retail that they have within their site now. So if you were interested in going in and getting fresh pasta, you can do that, as well as if you were a company looking at bringing that product to your facility. So they have come to us and said, originally we were requesting the rental incentive, and now we're at we have an opportunity to buy the whole building and move into the adjacent 1,900 square feet, and then continue to lease out the existing space. And so that's what this project essentially entails. They'll retain 5 of their employees. They'll add 3 additional employees. The space that they are in is going to be built out with some of their machinery that they've purchased over the past year for manufacturing. So that will essentially be their manufacturing kitchen. Their existing kitchen and space will continue to remain the same. The addition is going to be really more their manufacturing facility. The incentive is proposed at $16,077, and that's based on a 3-year payback period for this project. I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all might have on Della Casa Pasta or this project itself.
Okay. And so when we get to the discussion, there may be some. So entertain a motion to approve as a project of TDC, the agreement with Della Casa Pasta LLC.
So move.
Okay, discussion?
Now, these are the folks that have been at farmer's market.
They have, and they continue to be, which is
Yeah.
really exciting. That's
Yeah,
one of the things, because they're growing as a company, but they are in select markets around our area, which
Yeah.
obviously for us, they're continuing to grow and expand their product base. So it's exciting.
It's good stuff.
Any other questions? Okay. And I'm assuming, has this been turned into the city to? for any approval?
Currently, status is we have no plan submittal received yet on this project.
Okay. All right. Okay, any other discussion? Let's call for the vote then.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next item on the agenda is consideration and possible action to approve as a project of TDC an agreement with Persimmon Global Logistics. Kelly?
Thank you. This project is a project that came to us this past year. PGL has been in business since 2018, and they are currently located in Magnolia. However, they have a Tomball tie. The Tomball tie is Sherry Dunaway, who's the managing partner of Copan Trade. They are coffee roasters here in Tomball. They're on Persimmon. And if you recall, we did a grant a number of years ago for them to expand their facility on Persimmon. This would be a expansion of that site. And it is for the construction of an 11,250 square foot office warehouse facility that will essentially be a warehouse for green coffee beans. This particular project will be located on Lizzie Lane at the existing Copan Coffee site. They are creating 5 new employees with this project, and the estimated capital investment is over $1.3 million. The proposed incentive is $16,920.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the directive incentives and expenditures of the primary job with Persimmon Global Logistics.
So move.
Okay, discussion?
Now, they still have a small retail component to their existing
They do.
store, right?
They do, and that component will stay as far as what they are operating in now. That will stay this way for the housing core product.
And a lot of their products is coming from the Port of Houston. Is
Correct.
that right?
Most of it, yes.
And it'll be warehouse in Tomball
In
as well.
Tomball. Right now, it's warehouse in Magnolia, but this expansion will warehouse all of it in Tomball.
Peter, what kind of traffic can we expect, and will it affect the Timken Road itself?
This really shouldn't, we don't anticipate a huge increase in traffic. It's really gonna be more part of their regular delivery process. So right now, if you go into their facility, they are packed to the gills, if you will. This will allow them to house a lot of that product without being, so constrained in their existing facility to do what Copan does. This will more be a warehouse facility. So they may have truck traffic that comes up, delivers, and then takes off. It's not really an anticipated increase over what they have.
So will this traffic come in off of Persimmon, or will it use Timken? Because I don't think we really want to have a bunch of 18-wheelers driving down on Timken.
That, I don't know exactly their path, and I hate to answer that with.
Or Lizzie Lane, even that. Yeah, even Lizzie Lane.
Well, from what I've seen in there is they don't have 18-wheelers, they have the smaller trucks that come in there. That's the traffic I've seen.
And that's what we've seen too. I hate to assume and not know because they may have 18-wheelers that will be coming in.
I just don't want them tearing up Lizzie Lane because it's so narrow. We've got residents that live in there. I don't think they should be burdened with commercial traffic. So I have some concerns about that. It's not that I'm against expanding business, but I don't want it to expand into people's front yards and their backyards. That's just. my opinion.
Would we be able to designate truck routes along those roads?
So we have a no through trip traffic. So this one will be going to a destination, so it wouldn't, we couldn't do that.
Because you already have a business park
Mhm.
on Chestnut.
Correct.
Correct.
Around on Lizzie.
Is there a way to limit the weight on the road?
I don't believe so.
Why can't we limit the weight?
That's an ordinance that's been very difficult to enforce.
You'd have to have scales and everything else to be able to weigh people. That's true.
It's the bridges.
Well, at the moment, they're coming in on percentage, correctly?
Most likely, yes. They're probably coming in off of
So
4820
there's no way
down
we
for
could
Simmons.
continue coming off Simmons and not Lexus?
Most likely, that would be the route that they would take, but without knowing their distribution patterns,
That's
I
what
hate to
worries
say
me.
it and give you a wrong answer.
Can, Lauren, is it proper for me to ask a question of someone in the audience?
Yes.
Latrell and Sam, have they been good neighbors to you guys?
They've been good neighbors, but, they got 18 wheelers, they want 18 wheelers, they 18 wheelers.
There are 18-wheelers going up and down through Lizzie Lane?
Every day.
Are they going into that place or are they going on into Chestnut Business Park?
No, they go to that coffee place, that's where they load up at the top, they come right out, once they pull in there, they go in, they come out busy, like they did this morning, just this morning. they did it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
David, would you give us the update on this project with the city as to where we are and looking at, of course, the zoning is commercial, but
Right, so civil site plans have been submitted and those are close to being approved. The building plans have gone through a review, and so we're just pending the resubmittal of those, so they're close.
so the issues are traffic.
Can we zoom in on this plan set that's here? Because it looks like they have not only just one entrance off of Lizzie Lane, but two of them.
South Persimmon and
No, we got two of them.
We got two of them,
60 foot
yeah.
wide,
Lizzie and
where's
Lizzie.
the other one?
so they, I know, South Persimmon and 2 on Lizzie.
Mhm.
And they're, for your deal, they're gonna be turning a lot of times going to the left, to turn to the right. I've been behind 18-wheelers and they get stuck trying to get it on Persimmon. And they stop the traffic and back it up.
I used to office right there and I saw many 18-wheelers get stuck in there and that's an issue, guys.
It is for me. But if you look at this plan, their docks are coming in off of South Persimmon. And that's where their docks are. Up front is basically just car.
Correct. I don't have a problem with automobile traffic on Lizzie. I have problems with 18-wheeler traffic on Lizzie. 'Cause that road was not built for 18-wheelers, I can tell you that right now.
That's 60-foot wide. Yeah, that's for 18-wheelers, 30-foot wide, but that's all. You got to keep in mind, this building here is already here. They're already. I thought this was phase 2 right here. the building that wants it.
Yeah.
That's phase 2 that says on there. Okay. The building is in is the white building.
The white one?
The white one's the one they're in right now.
So they're talking about building 3 more buildings back there, correct?
Exactly.
That is their future conceptual plan. Right now, this only includes just the one building.
But future can, okay,
That, yes, that is their conceptual future plan.
Okay, so right now they're talking about putting in the secondary building, which will be to the left in this image
Correct.
of the white building, which is their first building.
Yes, correct.
So about 35,000 more square feet of,
This one
Space.
is 11,250 square feet
and then 11,250 and 11,250, that's the future plans.
for the full villa, yes.
So about 34,000 square feet.
So where are these trucks coming from when they're going to this building? To where? Which direction? Are they coming up South Persimmon? Are they coming down from 2920? Where are they coming from?
That, I don't have an answer for you on that. Typically, when we're working with a project and we're doing incentives, that portion of it is vetted through the city permitting process. So I hate to stand here and tell you I don't have an answer, but I don't have an answer for the traffic patterns.
So
This
under
is
this,
really just the incentive as far as their building expansion.
so in part of the, looking at it by the city, address the traffic before a building permit is issued. Is that possible?
Oh, this is not that issue.
That one, probably, that one.
Right. but Issue has been traffic, and their incentives really don't have anything to do with the fact of issuing the actual permit from the city
Correct.
to do this project.
Typically, they'll come to us and ask for an incentive, and if the project meets our minimum requirements and it shows them it's a return, then we would bring it to you. As far as permitting, making sure that they meet the city ordinances, that's usually vetted through the permitting process, which typically comes for a project like this after our grant process. So if it fails in some way because they meet a requirement, then they would come back to us and either request an amendment or say, hey, the project is not viable any longer because of X, Y, and Z. So that's just for your reference, kind of the process for
Kelly,
us.
I understand where you're coming from. And I understand the position of the TEDC, that they're here to help people out with businesses, and I appreciate that fact. But we sit here at this dais and we have to make decisions based on what's best for our whole entire community. And I don't want to step on somebody's toes about expanding the business, but we've got residents that live over there. And it's not fair for residents, in my humble opinion, to be put out because somebody's wanting to make their business bigger. We didn't do that. We didn't allow that over off of the car place next to the apartments on the north side of 2920. We didn't allow him to go in there and change anything or put portable buildings in there or anything else because it was a conditional use permit, right? So why are we gonna allow this to affect people that live there? I don't know what we should do. I'm asking y'all.
Is
So-
there any way that you, I mean, the city can make an ordinance or make some way they can't turn, because that would be through traffic if they turn to the left out of this deal right now. They turn to the right, they're going to Upper Simmons and everything. They turn to the left, they're going down Lizzie Lane, connected. So that would help that, at least that, those residents down there to keep the 18-wheelers off. Just have a sign there, no left turn, no 18-wheelers going there.
And
No
I-
trucks or something?
Right, and we can look into that since it's not pertaining to this item here, and I will definitely report back to the
That way we
council.
can go and vote
Certainly
for
can do
this.
We'd have to think about how it would be structured. If you do that again, you've got an important issue, but that can be complaint driven too.
Correct.
But keep in mind that, and I'm sure you guys know this, that whether or not you approve this tonight, they may still continue with their exchange. So it's maybe not going to stop truck traffic. That's really a separate issue.
I don't see any dollars will stop in a second.
Well,
That's what I'd like to see us do, fix it. So
Well, and I would just point out that a lot of this stuff along Persimmon is industrial in nature. It's the same thing on the other end of Persimmon. And you get 18-wheelers coming up Medical Complex, down Ag, down Persimmon, right, left, every which way, all day long. I would love to stop that tearing up the road. The city was out today trying to patch a shoulder on Ag Road. But it's unless you just ordinance the heck out of the trucks and keep them in a certain corridor, I don't see how you can do that. I just have to see.
Well, I think we can put weight limits on bridges and roads, if I'm not mistaken. I think you can do it on roads as well, depending on what the base material is and how old the road is. Because some of these county roads have weight limits on them, period, just because they're old blacktop roads. Throughout the state of Texas.
How is the city gonna enforce that? They don't have to scale.
Get one.
No, you can't do that. It costs- You're talking about $1 million, $1.5 million to put it instead of scale, something like that.
An 18-wheeler could be more than 24,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you set the limit down to where it's for a regular panel truck or, a box truck in there, 2,400 pounds or whatever.
again, we're really solving problems that aren't under this.
Yeah, but if we give them this permission to go ahead and do this and we're funding it, we're kind of saying, yeah, y'all go ahead. We don't have any issues with it. And I want to make sure they understand we did.
No, I understand, but the other issues aren't before us tonight.
Okay.
All we're saying tonight is, it's a project of EDC, and if it is, then they would contribute 16,920. If we vote it down, they could still build this tomorrow, and we have no input.
Okay.
So we do have first and a second, and the vote is that if this project is approved by the city and they have gone through all the things that are the concerns with the city, then after it's complete, they'll get 16,000 from TEDC. So that is our vote that we're getting ready to take, but we do need to look at this because Lizzie Lane is residential. And not just Persimmon being industrial, but Lizzie Lane is residential too. So that is a concern with the city, and they, hopefully they're not planning on breaking, well, they can't break ground until they get city approval, so. So, any more discussion or? Okay, let's call for the vote. Round the roll.
It's clear.
How did they get that permission?
Clearing permit is
Oh, it's a
It's
clear
pretty-
permit. Okay,
pretty standard.
all right. Let's call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next item is to approve on the first reading, Resolution 2023-05. Kelly, this concerns the Economic Development Performance Agreement for the Corporation Huffsmith Corville Business Park LLC on Wyrick and Huffsmith Corville.
Yes, this request is for an infrastructure grant for the construction of 4 separate pre-engineered metal buildings totaling approximately 44,050 square feet. It ranges in size, the buildings range in size from about 7,500 square feet to about 16,500 square feet. The capital investment is estimated at $7.5 million. All right. And I keep taking, I'm so sorry if that's enough. I'm trying to say this way, but still. So this gives you an aerial of the site. This is north of Mahaffey on the west side of Huffsmith Corville. Again, they are looking at doing 4 total buildings. Capital investment is about $7.5 million. The infrastructure improvements that are eligible under this grant are water, sanitary sewer, storm drainage, electric utilities, and site improvements. And the total estimated cost for their infrastructure is $1,227,200. The TEDC grant that's proposed is $122,722. Is 10% of the infrastructure cost. And this is based on the net impact to Tomball's economy and how this project will develop. One more. This gives you an overview of the elevations that are proposed for this particular site. The buildings are oriented such that you have the main retail building facing Huffsmith Corville, and then the site has three separate buildings that are actually perpendicular to Smith Corville. Again, this grant amount is up to 10% of the actual infrastructure costs based on them spending that amount as well as occupying the existing or the future space. So we don't pay a cent until those spaces have been occupied by a business and we have proof that that business has submitted for their CO, and we have the number of employees that that business is employing. So it's tied to the job creation and the actual business component. They don't get a cent if this building is completed and it's a vacant space.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve resolution number 2023-05, TEDC of the City Council, City of Tomball, authorizing TEDC's project to expend funds on the Huff Smith Corville Business Park LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Kelly, this is just north of where Huff Smith Corville goes back into a blacktop road again. Do we have any idea when the county's gonna have the rest of that boulevard down through there?
That's the question of the day. I wish I could tell you that, but, and I'll kind of ask David to maybe speak in, but with the split with the county precincts, it has been very challenging, honestly, to get any kind of realistic time frame of projects. Everything has been shuffled around, and I think that both precincts are trying to keep things moving. I don't know if you have a more updated response than that as far as this particular project.
Right, Councilman Townsend, we have had discussions with the Commissioner Ramsey's group on those, and we've talked about the different priorities that they have, and it is a priority of theirs. They never did gave me a specific schedule or date of completion, but I know that we're going to continue the discussions about that as they get their funding, because I think it's still pending funding.
Well, here again, I'm gonna be concerned about our residents, because those are the people who truly support our community. I'm concerned that we're putting more buildings in a location where residents are already having difficulties with the roadways. And we've got a brand new subdivision going in there, and if we're gonna put 18-wheeler traffic on this, and it's not a boulevard where people can get in and out and have safe travels, there's an issue there. You know, I've always been one to say people have the right to develop their property, and they do, but at the same time, is this going to cause havoc for those people who have bought there and who support us through taxes and through school dollars and through everything else that's involved? How do we do this?
David, is there a city report as to the status of this project?
The plans on this project have been approved. They've done some changes to them. They're adding some minor amendments to it, like adding some bathrooms, but they're close to, we're just waiting on those revisions.
Okay, so the concerns about that you had brought up, Councilman Townsend, and is there any other concerns that the city needs to address before approval of this project is granted?
I can tell you the approval of any driveways onto county road will go through the county. And if they've gotten those permits, then they can do the driveway cut-ins into the approaches.
This is the area after the road splits and there's a. Right?
Yes, it appears so.
It appears that way.
Yes, I think it's just south of where that median splits.
Past,
Yes.
just past Smitty's.
Well, Mahaffey
Exactly.
Road,
Okay.
Mahaffey Road is where it starts cutting down into single lane.
So more often than not, those wheelers are gonna, is there a cut through there?
No.
I know I do a cut through to circle back to Smitty's, but I don't know exactly where that is. But I would presume that 18-wheelers are gonna be trying to get back to 2920 from there.
Wyrick's, I think, a dead end road, isn't it?
What?
Wyrick,
Yes, it is a dead end road. It's residential.
Right, so the only way they can come out is on 2978.
That is correct.
2920.
And they can hit Mahaffey Road and go to the east and come back up on 2920 outside the city. They can go northbound on 2978, that's what, whatever you want to call it. Or they can go south.
Okay.
Go south all the way to 99, correct?
And
I would say they're gonna be limited on the 18-wheelers going in there because of the type of structure that they're building. If you notice on the back side, there's no documents to those doors.
Can you go back to that, please? If you don't mind. Good point, Mark.
So they're gonna be limited. You're probably not gonna have many 18-wheelers going into a site like that.
But
Also-
you're correct, that the main building, the front building is more retail in nature, and those back buildings are smaller and.
All the
Exactly,
repair shop
I
type
think you're
stuff.
right on the mark with what, how that site is set up. And if you look at their site plan, there's not a lot of connectivity through that. Mainly because I would assume they don't have those type of users.
And I understand your concerns, Councilman Townsend, with that area, but that area is already zoned light industrial, which, you know, all they're asking for is EDC funds to help them. It's not like we can stop them.
You made a very good point about 18-wheelers and the type of building, but this again is just something somebody's given us that this is a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say you're not gonna see 18-wheelers go in there, don't take a pallet jack and take it to the back and lift it off with a forklift.
How much room is there? Can we go to an aerial? Do we have an aerial on the layout of this by any chance? Propose
Control site plan.
something where we can see what the distances between the buildings are. We had,
I don't think we have the site plan here because the only thing I had was a grading plan and it was so convoluted that
gotcha.
to put this up, it would have been a nightmare, to be honest with you.
They'd have to worry about a truck coming
But
around.
they basically have a building that's long and perpendicular to Hudson Corville, and then 3 buildings.
Behind it.
Yes. So similar, if you've been to where Boatman Construction, where their office is, the Dancing Falls Development, if you were to kind of cut that maybe in thirds, that first portion would be similar to the type of development that they're proposing.
I'll vote for it. It just scares me putting more traffic on top of people.
this is not gonna-
Maybe more traffic will make the county move fast.
Baloney.
You never.
Well, we are Commissioners Court 7, 3 and 4. So, okay, any more discussion on this item? Call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next item on the agenda is to approve on first reading resolution number 2023-06.
Yes, this is a request from Joshua Miller, who is CFO of Church Holdings. Church Holdings purchased property that is kind of northeast of our business and technology park a number of years ago when we were initially kind of site designing this project. They purchased that thinking that they would move their office there and also possibly develop a few future office warehouse projects. So this has been a project that's been in the making for over 10 years. What they are looking at doing is a multi-building office warehouse park called Tomball Commerce Center. It's on just under 7 acres, and it is north of the Business and Technology Park. They are looking at developing 6 office warehouse buildings, and they'll range in size from 10,500 square feet to 20,355 square feet for the largest building. The capital investment is estimated at $10.5 million. Eligible infrastructure improvements for this project include water, sanitary sewer, gas, storm drainage, electric utilities, as well as related site improvements. And that totals almost $4.3 million. And if you look on the site plan, you can see the difference here when you look at this project versus the project that was previous to this is they are connecting or installing a city road cul-de-sac. What that allows this project to do is create frontage on public right-of-way for potential buyers. So this is not a for lease only project. This creates opportunities for 6 potential buyers to own their own office warehouse development. And that's where you'll see that the cost for this project versus the previous project is quite a bit higher. What we are proposing as far as an incentive is $426,639. That's based on 10% of the actual infrastructure cost. Again, those aren't paid until somebody is occupying each of those spaces. We have a CO in hand and we can verify that there is a business in those spaces before we issue any type of payment for the infrastructure for this project.
Do I have a motion to approve on first reading, resolution number 2023-06?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
I got a question. Thank you for Tiffany and you gonna have the school, like I call it, for us. But on this one right here, the benefit, it says that, and maybe I'm not doing this correctly, but the benefit to us is less than, net benefit is $443,000, but we're giving $426,000.
You're exactly right. The benefit on this project, the benefit, and you gotta look at how we do our impact analysis. And it's challenging when we're dealing with a project like this where you don't know who the end user is. So they're giving us estimates, and most of the time, all of those inputs for inventory, sales tax, jobs, they're leaving blank because they don't know. And that's where a project like this, in comparison to the next project, which is more retail based, is going to have a much lower rate of return. That's based on those inputs. Okay, so in reality, most likely they'll get companies that are going to have inventory tax. They'll get companies that are going to have sales tax, or at least a component of that. And so it's a bit challenging and a conservative approach when we look at our impact analysis, because one, we want to make sure we're not double dipping in any way. So if it's a project that we've done an infrastructure grant on, we don't incentivize that company to come there as well, unless it's a sign or a business improvement, a small grant that applies to everybody else. But if we're going to incentivize a project, we're incentivizing for this one, the infrastructure, in hopes of getting that end business. And so with a project like this, it's challenging because the inputs and the outputs, right? They don't make a good deal.
It
if
sure
you
didn't
will.
seem like to me. a good deal.
Absolutely. But if you look at this project in comparison to other projects, this allows people to not only occupy one of those spaces, but own it. And that's where I will get behind this project, or a project like this, any day, because it's not a project where developers coming in, they're going to retain the square footage. It doesn't matter what leases come in and out of there. This gives us an opportunity to have owner occupied projects. And that's where I will say.
And that's why the number
the
of people
difference-
is lower. too.
Absolutely is.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, it didn't make sense at
100%.
first.
And I get, and Bill and I, we talked about this, Bill Sumner on our board, because obviously, he's a numbers guy, right? So he's looking at this going, what the heck, this doesn't make sense. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's exactly right. This is a project where the inputs and outputs, they don't quite jive for us to say, hey, this economically, this is 20% return. Okay, yeah, it is. But we're basing it on very conservative estimates, solely on the infrastructure and what's going to be built vertically, not necessarily the fact that we have now potential owner occupied type of projects. And it's 6 buildings. So
Kelly, in this type of a project, the EDC gives the funds $426,000 to them for infrastructure. What kind of a guarantee do you have that they will in fact build all 6 buildings?
We don't give them a cent until it's done.
Until it's done. Okay.
Correct. So everything we do is performance-based.
Okay.
And when I say that, you know, we can go in, we can enter into these grant agreements and sometimes they're not gonna get past the city process. You know, sometimes they're not gonna get past a rezoning, but most of the time we're kind of that first step because they wanna know, okay, if we can go forward, this is what we're going with.
Okay.
So for this project, until those spaces are occupied by a bona fide business, they don't get a cent.
Nothing. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's fine.
Thank you so much.
Did you do the city report on this one as to where we are? And then I do have a couple questions for Kelly.
Yes, ma'am. They've submitted their civil plans and they have been returned with comments, and so we're waiting for those comments. So no building plans yet, just civil grading drainage plans.
They've already come before us on this project because they wanted to get a deal on the road as far as fire trucks and that kind of stuff. This was a single turnaround cul-de-sac. We've seen this project before, haven't we?
I think you're right. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to think about,
They
Yes,
came in and made a
I
presentation.
believe you have, yes.
No, okay.
I believe so.
Yeah, and then this was the one where they wanted to know about changing the sizes of buildings a little bit here, a little bit there. Y'all remember that?
I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'll get you some no-dos next time. Yeah, we've seen these.
Privileging doesn't work.
Okay, so Kelly, is this the property that has those 100-year-old trees on it? Those
No.
huge oak trees?
I don't
Big
believe so. I
trees.
think the majority of this property is pretty well clear.
Okay, and it is right across from the business park. more or
Right,
less.
it's,
Is it subject to the deed restrictions and the things that y'all have put into place? Will it be because of the facade and being so close?
no, if it's outside of what we originally owned and placed our deed restrictions on, then we don't have any mechanism to place that type of restriction on there.
Put the site plan back up. again.
So they're not going to request to be brought into the business park?
They will not, no.
Okay.
And they wouldn't meet the requirements of the business park. So this project, they are more metal building office. work. So it's gonna be similar to the TNRG project that if you're coming down South Persimmon and you're gonna turn right on to Spell Road to get into the business park, the development that has 4 or 5 office warehouse buildings there now, where the front of it is, they've got some wainscot, some stone, but the majority of that site is a metal office warehouse type project, and that's what this is proposed to be, just to the north
And
of
Spell,
those sites.
okay, and Spell Road has lots of subdivisions down it that has a lot of traffic back up.
On the
that one
west side, Spell Road on the west side honestly just comes into the business park.
Right.
On the east side, yes, it does go into residential.
So that's not really an issue on this project.
That's a lot of concrete. Where's their detention gonna be? Yeah.
So their detention is in the M118 channel, and that is designed, if you look at kind of the master drainage area for this site, and the previous owner, when we looked at this whole area, obviously, we had to kind of make assumptions based on the fact that we were gonna have to collect, right, water coming in the basin. And so when we designed that business park and the M118 channel and the whole system that drains to that channel, we knew we were gonna have to accept flows that were coming north of us. So this project does, if you look at our business park, there is an easement that comes along the north end of our business park and down and goes into the channel. So all of their drainage, all of their detention is handled in the M118 channel through the.
You get a chance to recover any of the money for developing.
They're required to pay city impact fees, so they weren't part of the original business and technology park. So anything that's beyond that original plat, they are required to pay drainage impact fees.
Okay,
Is this fellow about Euler said, Dave, is he any relation to the Euler buildings?
Not that I'm aware of, but I was curious
I was
about that
just trying
also,
to.
but not that I'm aware of. And I think it's Joshua. Mueller.
any other questions? Okay, let's call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
It's not just Ramsey, it's the whole commissioners. court we gotta worry about.
Number 9, next item on the agenda is to approve on first reading resolution number 2023-07.
This project is one of my most exciting projects of 2023, and I cannot wait to tell you all about it. So we've all obviously seen the Luby site, which was purchased by Aldi and SAC. Well, the Luby site also includes the linear detention pond that is right next to the McDonald's site on 2920. The first part of this project, so it's going to be 2 phases. BCS Capital has purchased the site and they are looking at a phase 1 and a phase 2. Phase 1 is really the most important, the most critical, because it has to deal with the redirection of the stormwater that is currently being held in this linear detention pond. So what this will do is basically demolish that. Will create a 728 square foot retail space for a salad and go, which is a newer concept for salads, that are kind of like a salada, but small. But it will create kind of the setup for phase 2, which phase 2 will then be the redevelopment of the Luby site. So this portion of what they're asking for currently is for assistance with the infrastructure to demolish that existing detention pond, to develop the new salad and go, but also redirect all of the flows from that overall site onto the site, which will then encounter or encompass underground detention. So they are going underground with all of their detention for this particular site. We are likely to be asked to help fund phase 2, which will include the Luby's building, as well as another building that they're looking at putting on that site that will come down the road. Right now, what their main focus is addressing the drainage and detention on this site. So this project, essentially their capital investment for phase 1 is about $4.7 million. The stormwater detention pond, all the improvements to redirect the drainage are going to be about $820,000. And the TEDC grant is proposed to be $123,094. That's based on 15% of the infrastructure costs. We always look at what that balance is. What's the net return? And I will say, because we are a sales tax dependent city, projects that are sales tax heavy are easier to justify. So to be able to present a 15% incentive of their infrastructure versus 10% on a primary employer, you got to understand the mechanism behind the impact analysis. And so I wanted to make sure you understood why this one is 15% versus the previous 2, which were 10%, is because of that validation on the impact analysis to make sure that we are in balance with what we are anticipating to be the net benefit of this project on Tomball's economy.
I'll entertain a motion to approve on first reading resolution number 2023-07. Have a motion?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, you made it. Dang.
Okay. Discussion? Okay. Kelly, one of they're underground. Where are they going to take their underground water? We're just starting on a 3-year project from Hilligeist Gully coming all the way to down over to 2920 and 249. Is that where they're planning on?
No, so
Hooking
the
in?
site that they have is the Luby site and all of that parking around them, as well as the access is that narrow access road to 2920 that's adjacent to the rectangular detention pond. So what they are looking at doing is only within the bounds of that site. It would be redirecting the detention from that kind of linear surface pond to an underground system that they will redevelop with the overall site. So it won't impact things that are outside of that site
Well, when
area.
you go underground with the water, it has to go somewhere. Where
Correct.
are they going?
That it will drain to the same place that they drain now, which is 2920. They're just gonna hold it, instead of it being a surface pond, it will be held underground.
Okay, because the 2920 detention pond floods property. And
I understand.
so having more water over there until it is fixed just floods more.
And they'll have
We
to
don't
meet
need
all the
floating
requirements for TxDOT as far as draining, and they're on TxDOT essentially both streets, whether it's 2920 or State Highway 249. So they have to address and deal with the detention requirements of TxDOT either way they go.
So we won't have floating cows on those properties.
Right.
Because now it already floods because of the TxDOT's detention pond is not correct. So, okay. I was curious when you were saying, where are they going? Because your picture even shows water in the detention pond as it is now.
Correct. Currently now, yes. And what their overall plans is for all of that to be underground
Okay.
and stored in pipes.
Okay. And where are we at the city on this?
No status. There's no plans.
We have no plans, no information, no nothing.
And they haven't submitted anything until they know that they are gonna have some type of incentive from the city. If not, then they'll move forward on a different project for the site.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? All right, then let's call for the vote.
Yes, lucky what I did.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next item on the agenda is to approve on first reading resolution number 2023-08.
This is one of our probably lesser known incentives that we offer. It is our rental incentive agreement, and you've seen these in the past. This is for projects that are going into existing retail businesses or spaces that are currently vacant or underutilized. So what this offers as far as a rental incentive is up to 25% of the base monthly rent for the first year of operations only, paid after they have completed that first year of operation, and they provide verification the landlord has submitted all of the requirements. This is for a company called Studio A28. Studio A28, they focus on hospitality interior design. So most kind of recognizable in our area would be the interior of Paradigm Brewery. So they worked with Paradigm Brewery and they did all of the interior design for that facility. They also worked with Small Cakes Cupcakery here in Tomball. So they are looking at a lease space in the field. The field is the former Bank of America building, which is now a co-working space that we helped with some of the infrastructure on. And this project would include them occupying 400 square feet within that facility. The commitment for rent is $1,300 for the first 10 months and then $1,625 for the remainder of the lease. So our proposed grant agreement is $4,063. That again is payable after the first year of operation, confirming that all rents have been paid and that there are no outstanding requirements as far as the city. So this falls under our rental incentive program, which has been very successful, I will say, in the field. And if you've had a chance to go over there, you'll see that there are a number of smaller companies that we've been able to help incentivize, accounting-based companies, education-based companies that have come in there. So we're excited to be able to kind of offer that again to another company that is a professional service provider within Humboldt.
I'd entertain a motion to approve on first reading resolution number 2023-08.
Motion.
Okay. Discussion? Can we have the city report on this? Or is there?
Yes, ma'am. Civil plans have been submitted and we sent back comments, and so we're waiting for those. And today they submitted a replat for the property, so it is proceeding.
Okay, replanting one property.
Mhm.
Okay. Right, any discussion? Okay, let's call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
The reason we have taken so much time is this, is that a lot of these projects, this is the first time this council has seen or heard about it. So even though these are not going to be funded by TDC until they are done, in the reading, a lot of them, that people had put down that they're breaking ground, that they're going to be finished by such and such a date. And we don't have plans in the city, so that is why there's been so many questions concerning this tonight on these incentives. It's not against any of the incentives TDC is offering, but council didn't have knowledge of a lot of these projects. And so maybe that can change some in the future, and that will speed this up. So next item on the agenda is executive session. City council will meet in executive session authorized by Title V, Chapter 551, Government Code of the Texas Opens Meetings Act for the following purpose: consultation with city attorney regarding the matter with attorney duties required to be in closed session, deliberations regarding real property, deliberation regarding security devices, deliberations regarding economic development. It is now 7:25 p.m. and we're going to be entering into the executive session. No action will be taken upon return. We will not be taking any votes on any of the items we're discussing. You are welcome to come and watch us adjourn, or thank you for being here for the two. So we'll be taken upon our return. We will just adjourn. There will be no action taken after this executive session. Thank you.
Did we need to say the? Okay, never mind. I didn't hear the security devices.
No, she said,
Mute this.
yeah.
All right, woo. All right, it is now 9 PM. We are back from executive session that has officially ended, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. Discussion, would you like to?
No.
I think that's the open meetings act. You can't discuss adjournment.
Oh, no. I'm pulling it. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, say nay. Thank you. We are adjourned.